Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo Story. A state on the boil for more than 2 years now. 250 people at least have been killed there in ethnic clashes and in other violence, and thousands have been displaced. Now, a series of developments are taking place in Manipur. President's rule has now been imposed in that state. This follows Chief Minister Biren Singh's resignation. The assembly has been put under suspended animation. Now, remember, in Manipur, two groups of people, Meiti and Kuki, have been fighting with each other for some time now. There are actually zones created for them where they are living now, which are separated. The polarization in that state is almost complete. To get a sense of the situation, we're joined by two special guests. We're joined by uh, Glady, who is a Kuki activist. Welcome to Mojo Story, Glady, and Elizabeth, who's a women rights activist. If I may start with you, Glady, first. It's been a demand of the cookies that Biren Singh must step down. Now that he has stepped down, do you think that a way has been paved out for uh, reconciliation in that state? Clary, can you hear me? I think we don't have a connection to Glady. There's some problem with the Glady. If you can unmute. Okay, Glady has muted from her end. But if I may ask the same question to Elizabeth, Elizabeth, the point is that CM Biren Singh has resigned. A president's rule has been imposed in Manipur. How do you see this development?
Sorry. Uh, Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The developments that are taking place and which is formally declared today, the apprehension has been going on. It is like a game of thrones that has been taking place in Manipur. So what we are thinking in terms of that, there are many demands, especially from our cookie community brothers and sisters have been headstrong in asking for the resignation of former Chief Minister N. Biren Singh. For one thing we know is that why at this time only the Chief Minister has been asked to resign. It's almost nearly 2 years now. So the question is, we as a people wanted solution to the problem, what we see as political crisis. Till the political crisis is solved, there is going to be this conflict. There is an uneasy calm. If guns and bombs does not been thrown, a mere absence of violence doesn't mean peace. So, what kind of accountability is being set? For us, one thing is that both the government, because since BJP party is ruling the government, we feel that government at the central level and the state level should be accountable for what is going on. How the accountability is going to be uh, served, that's a question that we all are asking, because is the resignation of former chief minister N. Biren Singh is the end all of everything of what is going on in Manipur, or what? That is the question that we wanted to ask, and we have been asking, and we wanted to know from others and from uh, different sections of the society why the demand. Is it because of the pressure of the demand that the resignation has been done or asked to do? What is the all in all intent game plan? This is the big question mark that has been left behind after the resignation of
Yes.
former CM N. Biren Singh. Yes.
Elizabeth raised many questions, Glady. I hope you can hear us now. I think Glady can still not hear
I
us.
can't hear.
Can you hear Glady?
I can hear
Can you
her,
hear
but I
me?
can't hear.
I don't know. I think there's some problem with the audio of Gladdy. But you raise many questions. But I was asking that now that this has happened and the president's rule has been imposed in Manipur, do you sense that the security situation or the mistrust that is existing on the ground, will it help to change that?
Uh, as we all know that in the ground, due to mistrust and the security scenario that has been going on, that is something that as a dialogue process that we need to start on now. But the only question that we are asking now and seeing the imposition of president's rule is due to the internal blabbering or due to the internal crisis within the BJP party that a new CM could not be elected. So, till this political crisis within the internal BJP party, do we think that the problem can be solved? Yes, during the president rules, now that Manipur is going to be formally under the direct control of New Delhi. So New Delhi is going to be accountable for the rest of the days that are coming from today onwards. Some security scenario for safety, for safeguards, can be taken up, but it doesn't look like that this is not going to bring solution to me until and unless the internal BJP party crisis is solved.
So, what you're trying to suggest is that there is a crisis within the BJP, and that is why this step has been taken. It has nothing to do with the
Yes.
ground realities in Manipur. The ground realities exist as they were before Biren Singh's resignation and even after the president's rule is imposed. The only thing that will happen that all the accountability will fall on New Delhi now rather than the state government. That's what you're trying to explain.
Yes, yes, because the culmination of this almost 2 years situation has created a kind of an artificial divide, I would say, and a mistrust. But one thing is that look at the common people of Manipur. I have friends among the Kuki community, and the common people relationship that we have of each other are not at lost at the ground, frankly speaking. It may take time, but the thing is that common people are not happy to fight with one another also. At the
Right,
beginning of the conflict, what happened is that emotions were high, there were propaganda, there were narratives playing on the emotions of the people and on certain, maybe instructions of the vested interest. It may take
right.
time. The mistress has been created, frankly speaking. Otherwise, what was the animosity there between the Kuki people and the Meitei people? I did not see anything of that sort. Only the thing is that it was like from May 3rd, this has become a sudden eruption. It will take time, but the trust building can be started with sincere effort without coercion from any group, from civil society group or from people who are holding guns or from the militants or for vested interest. I think people to people dialogue can start. But the real issue now that what we are dealing is that the internal political crisis within the BJP party has to solve since they are the majority in this state as an elected representatives. Till this problem is not going to be solved, some kind of efforts are going to be needed. Whether the real solution will come or not, there is still a doubt, frankly speaking. So after 6 months, what does the dictate comes, we will see. Otherwise, we what we say is that please solve the internal conflict within the BJP party.
Gladdy, can you hear me now? Gladdy, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yes, good that we got your audio up. Gladdy, we've been talking about the problems in Manipur for a long time now. And one of the demands of the Kuki community was that Biren Singh must step down. And that is what has happened now. Do you think it paves way for reconciliation and for a dialogue? people to people on the ground?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think we welcome President rule. If you look at the way cookies all demand right from the beginning of our protest, 1 year, 9 months ago, right from beginning, we were asking for removal of Biren Singh. That happened now, and we also asked for President rules. And sadly, we have to wait so long for these little things, the President rule to come into existence in Manipur. We welcome with a caution in the sense like this President rule has to be handled carefully because Kukizo trust in the state government have failed us. Now we want the center to take such a step in a way that Kukizo will build their trust in the center government. And also during these President rules, I believe this can be used in a time of restoration of law and order, even in the valley and in the hills. And also, I think the division between the two community, if peacefully, if the two community can be separated once for all, because the Kukizo stand on our political demand stands, nothing have changed in that. But at the same time, having said that, this President rule can be used in clearing the valley, which is infested with all those arms and weapons that was looted and extortions in the valley. And also, this is the time where the buffer zone can be reinforced because as we are separated completely, there is no point. The dialogue should only lead to a political talk of separate administration, which we've been crying. And also during this President rule, I believe that the road that we dug with our own hand for safety of our life and also to continue living, we dug with our own hands all those kind of temporary road that we use between Kangpokpi and Churachandpur, and also some roads from Aizawl to Churachandpur. If the central government can help us build all those roads for commuting, because our brothers from Kangpokpi has to go through a long road to come and visit their
Now,
relatives in
Gladdy,
Churachandpur.
if I
And
understand you correctly, if I understand, you
yes,
are saying that reinforce the buffer zones, or you are
yes,
saying that it's time to
yes.
dissolve? Why do you say
No,
reinforce the buffer zones?
because it is not the cookies who started this attack. It is the dominant community, the Meitei, who started this genocide. That is why the buffer zone was helping us for our security. We are alive till because the buffer zone was maintained. The buffer zone is our livelihood. In fact, there should be a stronger border between the Meitei community and the Kuki community. There is no point staying anymore together. Even the dialogue has to be only the dialogue of separate administration. We have to govern ourselves. We in the past 2 years we have learned how to live. We are resilient. We are tribal. We will find our ways. And the state government was coming on the way for the center to help us. As the center has come home now, we invite even our president, the tribal lady, to come home because it is their land. It is her land now. It is a tribal land. We even want the president to come directly to our house now. And then I also believe the policy has to benefit both the valley and the hills separately, and a peaceful division based on ethnicity is welcome. Apart from that, our stand is the same, never under Meitei. Whether whoever come, whether the BJP come or the Congress come or any other party come, also for us, the cookies of Meitei is Meitei, period. There's no more further talk when it comes to living together. And also
So
the
as I understand, Gladdy, then
mhm.
what is the way forward? If the minds have been made that we have to live separately, then what
Yes,
is the way forward?
the
How can we
way
talk
for
about
all, the way
reconciliation here?
forward is under our constitution. Give us our demand of ruling ourselves, governing ourselves. Give us our demand. That is not anti national. That is within the framework of our constitution. We started with few states within India, and now we have come up to so many states. If other state based on so many criteria can be divided into two, why not the cookies of people who are for security, for a security reason? Why can't we be given our own place? And also the hills belongs to, some of the hills that we are belongs to us. What is so hard about this not separating us? Why are people still trying to keep us together? In fact, some of our relatives who have fled from Imphal, do you think we are foolish enough to go back and give our neck back to the valley? And also, what is so attractive for Kukizo in the valley? All the power lies with them. All the state budget lies with them. All the development fund lies there. The one and only airport is captured by them. The high court is captured by them. What is there so beautiful that we have to go back to the valley and live there? We don't need that. We need our own administration. We need our own roads. We need our own airports. We need, in fact, all the goods that has been piled through the valley till now, they're all disturbed at the Imphal Valley. What is there for us, the cookies, or to mingle and live there again? What are they going to promise us? There's nothing to look backward. It's a one-way story for us. So our political demand will continue as long as we live.
Right.
Never again under them. If the center really love us, they should build trust between us and the center. They should build beautiful roads for us. They should start funding us, in educating our children, in building relief center or relief home, whatever it may be, and also empowering our education. Our board of secondary education results, the cookies, those schools were all doctored and monitored from Imphal. And some of our beautiful schools, esteemed colleges, are getting minus mark in our own binocular. The 25 school of TBSC was defiliated. So even education, we have no chance. Even in the state, in the past 2 years, how many ST quotas of job was given to Kukizo? We are quite educated. We are hardworking people, and so many jobs that we used to get under the state government, which is reserved under ST quota, the Kukizo are not given anymore. Even in sports, even in anything. Nowadays, in the past 2 years, anytime Manipur is mentioned, cookies were never mentioned. Never. Be it in Republic Day's dance, be it any cultural show, be it in sports, be it selecting in any criteria, cookies are never visible, not visible anymore now in the past 2 years. So what is there so good about being back to square one again? Instead
Right.
of that, please give us what we demand. That is the only way forward for us. We will keep sticking to our demand until we have our own administration.
Elizabeth, you heard Gladys. There is a great sense of discrimination that she puts across, and also she says that there is no backing down from the original demand, which is a separate zone which can be administered by the cookie. Now, we are asking that what is the way forward? Can the two communities live under one roof? But it does not appear that is going to happen by just a resignation of a chief minister or the imposition of the president's rule, because the polarization is complete. Do you think there is no scope of reconciliation, or some steps need to be taken? If the government has failed, if the leadership has failed, that people can reach out to each other, or there's no scope left even for that?
Uh, Grievances of what Gladys has been saying. See, Manipur has always been a multicultural society, and indigenous groups as well as other groups coming from different parts of uh, India or other parts in the historical stages after assimilation and amalgamation have made the greater Manipur society. We should know that the Meiteis were scheduled tribes during British India, but by because of some elements and sociological evolvement being a part of the greater like assimilated to Hindu religion during the time of king from late 17th century to 18th century. So that sociological evolvement, some of them were not, because of their voice, that Meiteis were not put under the scheduled tribe list of the constitution of India. Otherwise, Meiteis were also tribes. But as part of that, because of the Manipur Land Revenue Act, that people considered as bias, like Meiteis are not allowed to settle or buy land in the hills. So these are some of the discourses constitutionally. And at that time, what happened 1949 to 1950, till Manipur got statehood, there is a lot of point that needs to be discussed, we realized during this conflict. So Kuki Zo community, all those who are included under the scheduled tribe list, as per their quota, which is marked by the government. Those who apply for job or those who got the job, they have all been. And you should be knowing that the first chief minister of Manipur was a Muslim. Then there were Naga chief ministers. Then most of the bureaucrats. When during this crisis happened, the DGP of Manipur was from the Kuki group. If you look at all the government departments or all the security forces and all, there is representation of scheduled tribes according to the quota given by the government. That is a constitutional mandate. And the thing is that topography as well as the developmental pattern, even rural parts of different like districts in Manipur, they have grievances that why the development has not reached to this part of our area. And one thing is that where we are not discussing so much things, it is the political thing that we have to look into it. We have the tribal minister to look into the tribal affairs, development packages, everything goes through the tribal ministry. What was the tribal minister doing to look after the tribal areas or the hill areas? Why? Was the ministry doing? By blaming the Maitais, as we say, by dim or being population, 15 lakh Maitai population is nothing in India. It even Dwarka side has more population than the Maitai population.
Right. Gladdy,
So,
Gladdy, the
yeah,
point that
Dwarka side has more population. I just wanted to
yeah,
make one
yeah,
point again is that,
yeah.
see, demands are always there. So, when we are asking today that if there is grievances, how the grievances can become out, because we were not hearing so much about the separate administration before May 3rd. If we look at the intermediate or the immediate violence, because of the peace rally as carried out in Churachandpur, why did the violence break out first in Churachandpur, and why the burning of Maitai houses started in Churachandpur? If Maitais were carrying out genocide first, our question was that many investigative reports are also going on. Let the investigation report also go. Let the investigation report also go on. But then why the common people's, the innocent people's houses started burning? Do you think that if the peace rally had
There,
gone
there,
peacefully,
there has
even
there
if
has
there was
been
violence or stone peltings or whatever that was going on is happening, if the burnings of houses and all this did not happen, then do you think that it is the large scale that has happened will happen in Manipur? I don't think so. But the thing is that there is more than that meets the eye. So political dialogue, what role the central government is playing, the home minister, the prime minister has to look into it. There is still a room for dialogue process because coexistence, mutual understanding has been the lifeline of Manipur. That's what we still firmly believe in.
there is still scope of a dialogue process, and coexistence has been the lifeline of Manipur. Gladdy, you seem to have lost the trust in the dialogue process. Is it that the dialogue process was not so seriously put across, or it's happened in bits and bytes and not in a structured manner? That is one of the reason that you lost confidence in the dialogue process altogether.
Uh, First of all, separate administration, we are forced to ask for this of what happened to us. We are forced to ask for separate administration from the dominant Meitei. And also, let's not forget that the Kuki land are totally separated from Meitei land from beginning. I remember when I was young, 2, 3 Meitei came to our village chief and say, hey, can we live in your village? They came, boil tea and have tea, and then our chief allowed them to live. The Meitei should not talk as if they own Manipur. The tribal land always belongs to the tribal. The Meitei land in the valley belongs to the Meitei. We're not saying anything in the valley. Let them stay there. But why do they have an eye on the tribal land? This is, it has to be spoken loud and clear. The Meitei have their area, we have our area. Let's separate
But
us.
but,
And the
but
dialogue will only
Gladly,
be the dialogue will only be
this still is
partition
one
based on
state. This
ethnicity.
Gladly,
Sir,
this still is one
Iqbal, the
state.
dialogue will always or only be partition based on ethnicity, the peaceful partition based on ethnicity. That is the dialogue we are waiting. We are ready for dialogue, but it has to be based on partition based on ethnicity. Let's make it very clear. Any dialogue that the central government or anybody initiate has to be based on that. We are not going to have a dialogue to force us to stay under Meitei regime. We have seen it, and like rightly, it is separate administration is forced upon us. We have no other choice. We love our country. We're so glad now we can work together with central government directly. Manipur state was coming on the way. I'm so happy that at least something happened after 1 year, 7 months. So let this president rule mark the way of putting law and order back into place, which is good for them as well as for us. Give us what we want, give us what we like. We know what will be good for us. We don't need them, they don't need us. Separate us.
But Gladly, you say that we don't need them, they don't need us. And if there is conditions put in the dialogue process, then how will the dialogue process start? Shouldn't there be no conditions for a conversation at least to begin? Then those
You
demands, then
know
those
the
things will come up.
enmity between the two community is so vast. We are happy we're separated by buffer zone. The enmity between the two community is so great that it is good that we can live as a peaceful neighbor, but never live together. We can live as a peaceful neighbor. Let them have their own administration. Let us have our own administration. And also, the lady over here, Elizabeth, is blaming about tribal minister for development, but we hardly get any fund. Even the Kuki and the Naga together, we hardly get even 30% of the
But
state fund.
but
What
Gladly
development
shouldn't.
is she talking about? We have been mistreated, misruled for so many years. They never allotted us the right amount of development fund. They never given us roads, electricity, drinking water, even the basic necessity city is all taken in Infal Valley. There's nothing left for the tribal. Please don't blame my minister. I know how they look after us. I know how they stood with us. I know how
Okay,
they taught us
let
how to
her
be
let her
educated and work hard. Please don't blame our minister.
let her respond. Elizabeth, the point that she's making is that according to her, the Kuki community has been discriminated in all spheres of life, and they are left with no other option but to have their own separate administration, and they are not willing to live under one roof, so to say, in one state and intermingle. Like the Metis can go to the hills or cookies can come down to the valley. She says that is not possible, and there is no scope of putting across grievances anymore. The only dialogue can happen for a separate administration. What do you have to say? Do you agree, or do you still think that there is scope for reconciliation?
See, every conflict based on emotion or based on some perceived as well as some things which are on the ground, that we cannot assume or we cannot say that there is no scope at all. But before this, the thing is that they look at the common people's side. There is not that such kind of enmity between a common cookie and a common Meitei. We still even help one another. There are ample examples of it, which I know. One thing is about the buffer zone. Tell me very frankly, I think this was a wrong policy adopted. Buffer zone is between two countries. So why is the word buffer zone being used? This is the first wrong concept that has been used as a terminology. Because is Manipur then a separate country from India? Why did India government allow that to use that? Buffer zone we are saying is that there is a kind of a safety zone, you can say. Because we know that after the mob frenzy, after the burning and all these things happened, the innocent villagers who went to the nearby hills who whose livelihood is by cutting the nearby trees and selling it to the game. They were kidnapped and they were butchered and then they were killed by armed cookie groups. We hear like that. Similarly, these kind of things were happening. When the kings were ruling Manipur, the nearby hills were asked to be preserved so that, because at that time there was no cooking gas, though for fuel purpose, to mark that area. For example, look at Uyokjin, the last things where things have happened. The name Uyokjin in Manipuri language, in Meitei law, means for preservation of the trees, so that the nearby hills, the trees are preserved for use as a fuel for the king. For this, the Maharaja of Manipur at that time asked or kept some of the cookie. Now, cookie Joe is a conglomerate. You know that the cookie word came after the arrival of the British. There was no word as cookie. The cookie word does not exist before the arrival of the British. So British coined the term for how the nomenclatures have come. Different writers have wrote about it. So that's why there were sub tribes who now, like under the greater, this is also a sociological movement. So they were asked, and they were asked that one or two families were asked that you settle here and look after and take care of the hills. So if we look at it, like for example, uh, the historical and then the anthropological way, the arrival of the different tribes under Kuki Zo group is a well documented part in the history of, you will find by the British writers, by the chronicles of the Manipur kings, the Burmese kings now called the Myanmar, and the Assam Punjis, and then the Assam chronicles. So different subgroups came and settled. If you ask the Nagas, they were saying that in the More area, said we are the first settlers, and then after the turf of war, to have that part where economic control and the area control is there, and when the fights happened between, the conflict started between the Naga and the Kuki groups, the Naga people say, we are the first settlers, we were kicked out by the Kukis from More. So
No,
the overlap, there are land which are overlapping with the Nagas. And when the first settler of the Kongzai, which we know about how it started settling in Churachandpur, in the Chaitarol Kumbaba, the chronicles of the Manipur kings, it is written very well. See, aspirations and demands, we can make to the government that we want this, we want this. Then, like even there are revolutionary groups in Manipur. Since
right.
1960s, they have been asking, demanding for an independent
There
Manipur.
is a historical context as you are putting it,
Yeah,
but
that's why
we,
things are not like
we
easy as it
understand,
sounds. Or is
the
it that demand
historical,
can be made? It's all fine. This is a democratic country. Anybody can
we
make demand.
understand that
So it's
there is
up
a
to the central
historical
government to look
context.
into it. But central government has to see one thing, that the conflict should not be continued, separation of people should not be continued, buffer zones should be removed, and if there is no more problems to be there, it has to walk in a very good, as a good fatherly motherly role, because central government has a very
Right.
big role to play. We have realized now.
Central government has a big role, and now the state is directly under central rule. In the
Yes,
meantime, there are
and
some
just I wanted to,
updates.
yes, add one
Yeah,
also.
I'll,
Since
I'll just
2023,
read out. I'll just
yeah.
read out a couple of updates. There's one update that is, of course, the political parties are reacting. Rahul Gandhi has reacted and said the imposition of president's rule in Manipur is a belated admission by the BJP of their complete inability to govern in Manipur. Now PM Modi can no longer deny his direct responsibility for Manipur. Has he finally made up his mind to visit the state and explain to the people of Manipur and India his plans to restore peace and normalcy? And when we talk about two communities and the conflict that is going on, there is another set of people out there, which are the security forces, and they are also trying to perform their duties to establish a semblance of normalcy in that state. And we got one update that there is an incident of fratricide that has happened in Manipur. The CRPF soldier has opened fire at a camp and has killed two colleagues and has also shot himself. Now, these are all different facets to a conflict and a conflict area. Gladdy, the question is that we were talking about the resignation of Biren Singh. Of course, that was one of the demands by the uh, Kuki community, and now he's not the chief minister anymore, because earlier the buck would stop with him because he was at the top, and now there is president's rule. How do you see this development panning out on the ground? What impact would it make? Will it make any impact, or it won't make any impact at all? Please
Uh,
unmute. Yeah.
Unmute.
Yeah, I can
Can
hear
you
you
hear?
now. Yeah.
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 Biren Singh and his militia alone separated Manipur into two. And also, there is nothing like state integrity. There's national integrity. The nation integrity is right, everybody has to worry, but there's nothing like state integrity. If a particular community has been attacked and chased away like animal, a genocide is, rained down upon them, they have the right to ask for security and safety of their life. There is nothing wrong in that. And Biren, my always I ask this question: if Biren was from another party, apart from the ruling party, will he get almost 2 years to rule and reign in Manipur, where he continue using his state
No,
police forces
now that he is
against the
resigned,
people?
Gladly, now
He
he
is
is resigned.
resigned, but the damage is so much that why was the president rule not given in the beginning of the violence? I mean, 2 years of the chief minister who directly involved in this genocide was given a upper hand. Whatever policy he wants to make, he make. Whoever he wants to send, he send. Whichever central forces he wants to call, he call. Assam rifle was guarding very well between the two community. They were removed. A new set of central forces were called in, and then that was used by Manipur forces, as a Trojan to ride and come into Zaribam and all those things. Biren should be tried now in a court of law for killing 200 plus people, for giving two young girls to be raped and make fun in front of the people, and all those videos that came out. All this is done by Biren Singh and his militia. We know that. And all the people who lost life, what do we do about them? So many children, innocents are killed. What about those perpetrators? Are they behind bars? What about, how many people are behind bar in Imphal jail? The valley has to be cleaned first. AFSPA has to be implemented. Why even this? We've been shouting for day one. Why only in the valley that AFSPA is not given? Why? The valley is the one which is having more problem than the hills. Hills have less problem. Valleys every day, extortion happen, every day, kidnapping, every day, things are, not good. Why AFSPA is not given to the valley? I request strongly remover of Biren that we demand. Now he resigned. He has no other choice. That is also to save his own embarrassment. He resigned. Now president rule have come. The third thing that they have to do, the center have to do, is put AFSPA back to the valley and clear up the valley first. Because the valley is where every power lies, every authority lies in the valley. That is the reason why I request my dear president, the tribal lady, our honorable president, to set foot in Manipur. Even our prime minister is welcome, but for me as a tribal lady, I want our president to come home and set foot in the tribal land and see how we are living, how we are so different from the Métis, how they attack on us. First, they finish the Imphal Valley with all their, whatever resources they have, trees and whatever, rock, stone, whatever resources they have. They finish that. Now they have an eye in the hills. And also, Iqbal, till today, many Kukizo villages are still under Métis police, headquarters. How is it possible? Till now, how are we ever going to get justice? That all those, 20
Justice,
plus
of course,
police stations
justice,
are still ruling
justice.
over Kuki
It
villages?
is it
How
is
are we going to get
important.
justice?
It is important to have justice on all sides. But Elizabeth, last word to you before we wrap up. Gladys says that the wounds are very deep, and not possible to heal them. Last word to you before we wrap up. Please unmute.
This one, I would like to say that this engineered Manipur conflict, many wounds have been inflicted. Frankly speaking, my own relative house, who was staying in Churachandpur, born and brought up, who had been staying for long, and they are also Christian family, but they are Maitai. Their house was burnt in Churachandpur. They feel a sense of helplessness. So what I would say is that things that should not have been done in this entire almost 2 months. Both Kuki community as well as Meitei community are victims of this conflict, especially the common people. We are victims as well as perpetrators of propaganda and narrative. I think, as you said, in the ground, some work can be done. A close friend of mine who visited Kangpokpi and who are staying as IDPs. They have their home in Imphal. They are born and brought up in Imphal. They said, we want to return back home. The only thing is that safety net. That's why when we are saying that the 60,000 booths who were there in Manipur at that time, what were they doing? I'm not blaming the security forces because security forces follow command. At one point of time, and there is a wound in which all of us as Manipuri, even the Kuki people will feel, even the Maitai people feel, is that the unified command is no more like the state government has withdrawn it, they said, with the Sioux militants. Because it was first signed with the Assam Rifles in 2005, and then again with the government as a tripartite agreement on that one. So when people started suspected that Sioux militants are involved in the violence too, and some of the security forces, when repeated calls for help were asked and all, they said that we do not have the order. So who is giving the order and who is not giving the order in this
These
entire
are
in the security scenario? But
these
I'm
are
not blaming them because
right.
many lives were saved because of their
We
thing
will,
also. But what
as we
now we need to realize is that a safety zone and a sincere, without politicking, without separating the people, should start. And it can be political dialogue, it can be people to people dialogue, it can be civil society. But civil society without the dictate and influence of politicians and militants from both sides. This is
right,
what that would make a lot of headway. This is what I would like to say.
right. Uh, uh, Gladys, you want to quickly come in before we wrap?
Mm.
Yes, I want to say that arrest all Arambai Bengal that is seen in the video committing violence against Kukizo. Arrest all those, including the women who carry arms on the way to the wedding on a scooter. Arrest all those people who surface in the video, and then build road for the Kukizo people so that they can continue their livelihood. We have not touched Imphal in 2 years, and we don't need Imphal. This is my statement. We will survive, we will revive, we will find
See,
our own administration, we will
I
continue our
the,
political fight.
the,
This
the,
is
the,
my
there is
ending statement.
a lot of mistrust and division on the ground. Okay, Elizabeth, you have your last word, but quickly because we have to wrap up. Yeah,
I just wanted to say that we, as common people and women too, we know that when in this conflict, when women were coming out, women were not as peacemakers as people preserved to be, but as a community member during this entire conflict, it has come out. But in hearts of hearts, now we want peace. But one thing we have been telling to the government, to the security forces, and especially to the government of India, please do not do ethnic weaponization. This is
right.
going to open
We,
many
we,
unwanted doors. So
and
please stop ethnic weaponization. Any
it
weaponization,
is
any weapons, either from the Kuki Zo side or from the Maitai side, It has to be taken up both sides equally, so that peace be retained, and then some kind of semblance of peace can be returned. This is what I
You
said.
know, what
Equally,
is
everything should be not,
it
it should
is
not be biased way. Yes.
it is important that there should be peace in that state, and everybody should work towards peace, and there should be at least a conversation that can happen between people cutting across communities. They can come together and have that conversation. At least that is what an effort that we make on the Mojo Story, to bring people together so that they can speak. I think speaking to each other and having a conversation that is not broken, that is continuous, will help to end a lot of problems. We'll have to leave it here. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Thanks so much, Gladys, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo Story.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.